Hey ladies, welcome back to Somebody Come Listen to This podcast. Once again, I am your host, Nava, and if you are new here, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button to help the channel out as you come in. So we're going to get in the topic about are men less emotional than women? We're always hearing red pill or just men in general saying that women are more emotional and men are more logical. I just really don't think that. As I look around the world, all I see is emotional men who are stalking women and taking us out. There's an emotion there. It's anger, it's hate. That is an emotion. And a lot of men are doing things like that. As I see wars being fought all around the world, somebody has to be emotional to do that. Women are not doing this. I don't even think that if women were in power, we would just be starting wars. We're more logical because we know everything that comes with wars, and I think men are just not as empathetic as women. And I think that the patriarchy has really taught men to not empathize with anyone or to even feel any other emotion other than anger, jealousy, just all the bad emotions. They teach them that any other emotion than the bad ones that that we see them committing, anger, stuff like that, is like feminine. So like, for instance, me and my son were watching a movie. I forgot what movie we were watching. We were watching something and he started crying. My 17-year-old started crying, and he got up when he started crying and walked to the laundry room just so I wouldn't see him crying. And I told him, what are you hiding? Why are you hiding crying from me? That's a human emotion. And he did that because males, it's just in their psyche from the time that they're babies that men are not supposed to show any emotion as far as crying or expressing themselves or talking, because other men will shame them. It's not women who are shaming them overall. It's mostly their male peers or their uncles, brothers, dads. They just teach each other that they can't be emotional. So when they get with women, they take that into relationships, and women were never taught not to show like human emotions. So you can't put a gender on your emotions. Women were never taught you can't cry like a girl. You can't, express yourself or just none of that. So we're going to get into these videos and see what some other people have to say about the theory that men are more logical and women are more emotional.
Are men wanting to end their own lives?
Most men don't know how to contextualize the emotions that they're having because they tend to use anger as their default emotion to cover up disappointment, sadness, guilt, fear. A lot of men also suffer from alexithymia, which is a deficit in the ability to identify and describe emotions to yourself and to others. Because of normative male alexithymia and this issue in being able to describe your own emotions to yourself or to other people, it makes it increasingly difficult for men to know how to ask for help and to show vulnerability to other men. Why is this an issue? Because men do not want to appear weak, and men tend to feel a lot of shame around showing any level of vulnerability. In fact, the number one thing in traditional masculine ideology is the restriction, the avoidance of all things feminine, the restriction of the expression of caring and vulnerable emotions. So if anger is the cover-up emotion for most men, and they don't know how to talk to other people in their lives about how they're feeling because they themselves don't even know how they're feeling, what happens when they have that worst moment of their lives and they fall off the deep end and there's a gun sitting right next to them? Think about it. American men have the most access to guns than any other man on earth. Why is it that American men are so much more likely to shoot themselves? Because the masculine ideology of our country, the tough standard of masculinity is unattainable for most men, and a lot of men feel a lot of shame around that. And men do not know how to communicate with each other and ask for help when they need it. You are not weaker for asking for help. You are not weaker. Ask for help. The Hot Fat Guy Club is here to help.
I've been
reading a lot about recently that I think really puts into perspective why this issue is so much harder to fix than it seems. And it's the idea that not only is your ability to put your thoughts and feelings into words a learned skill that you get through your upbringing, but that very skill is actually directly tied to your ability to feel the very emotions that you're trying to describe in the first place. Being able to put your feelings into words is part of how you feel them at all. Just imagine an extreme example where you take someone who was never taught the words anger, sadness, fear, disgust, or any other emotional vocabulary, and then put them in a situation that would normally elicit one of those emotions, like anger. Without access to those emotional concepts, they can only feel what their body feels, like elevated heart rate or increased energy levels, but they can't feel angry because they don't know what anger is. So if you limit someone's access to emotional vocabulary or concepts, you literally limit their ability to feel those very emotions. So when little boys are raised in a culture where we don't teach them how to emotionally express themselves, and they never see grown men emotionally express themselves, then those little boys become stunted in the depth and range of emotions that they get to feel. So not only is there this general stigma around men expressing their feelings and this general inability for men to express their feelings, but a lot of men struggle to feel, period. I want to say I'm not trying to fearmonger, but the irony there is crazy. Keep in mind that little baby boys are actually born more emotionally expressive, like facially and with their little bodies, than little baby girls, which means that at some point we take away little boys' ability to feel as much as they could feel, because big boys don't cry.
In reality, even those men back then, they had emotions. Men today, they have emotions. Men are damn near as emotional as women, but we channel it in more deconstructive ways.
Yeah.
If you look at like murder rates and killings and shootings, you know, different things like that, like men are more prone to kill you over a woman than they are money, right? Which logically, which we supposed to be, we would be, okay, if you playing with my money, then that's way more reason. But I done seen dudes get robbed and take it to the chin. But if somebody smashes girl, she ready to shoot up the whole apartment complex. Men are emotional, but it just comes out the wrong way. And I feel like that's what we got to change. That's what I mean by is possible. We have it in us. We just channel it improperly because of how we was raised and how we was programmed.
A lot of niggas who think they gangsters is really emotional niggas. They really like niggas who be in their feelings. If you mad at a nigga enough to want to shoot him, that's an emotional thing. That's very emotional. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's a very emotional thing. Like, I can't even care about no nigga. Like, with my mindset of how I'm trying to teach y'all, I can't even care about a nigga enough to want to harm him and risk going to jail. I'm too valuable for that. You know what I'm saying? The world too big for me to risk my life going to jail for a nigga who is one person, one little dot in this whole big ass universe. You see what I'm saying? You don't have to be around this person. You don't have to fuck with this person, but you never want to take yourself out the game for a lame. A nigga who talking, who just emotionally charged. A nigga who just having a nigga who might be slow. You might be at the club arguing with the slow nigga from the other hood because he did some dumb shit and you just let that take you. You understanding on manhood and you end up going to jail for smoking the slow nigga. And you was a whole king to your hood. It's that fast. It's that easy because you get caught up in fast emotions. And when you realize that's a woman trait more than a man trait, you bag about that shit. I'm 43 now, so you can't get me out of character, nigga.
I changed my mind. I believe that men are so much more emotional than women, but nobody actually allows them the space to be emotional. I say this because truly, I have never met somebody so much more passionate than a man who is into sport, who is into fishing, who is into hiking. There is so much passion behind it that I truly believe that men hold a lot more sentiments. And number two, I think truly because men don't have the friendships that women have in terms of how they can connect and, you know, actually ask the deep questions of life, I truly believe that men bottle it up and don't have the ability to speak up as well as women do, therefore kind of making them more like when you put more pressure in a bottle, it will eventually blow up and just become so overwhelmed. And that is why I believe that men are more emotional than women. So please go ahead, tell me different. Or if you agree with me, tell me exactly why you agree with me, because I know I'm right.
This idea that women are more emotional is like bullshit. Women express their emotions more, so you might think they're more emotional because they're more vocal about it. But that doesn't mean that they're more emotional than men. Everyone has emotions. We're human. That's how humans work. I have never seen one study that proves that women are more emotional. All of them say that we express our emotions more. And that's largely due to society and how we raise women versus how we raise men. Men are taught that expressing your feelings is a feminine quality, and God forbid you guys have feminine qualities. And so you guys suppress your emotions and don't express them in order to fit into this box of what it is to be a man. And when you guys think emotional, you think sadness and crying, but there are other emotions. I have seen so many men get angry just like that over the littlest thing, and last I checked, anger is an emotion.
Oh, facts don't care about your feelings. Your emotions make you irrational. Logic is not objective, and emotion is not the opposite of logic. In fact, those two things work hand in hand. The obsession with staying logical by rejecting all emotion during an argument is the bane of my existence. All logic is biased and heavily subjective. And more so, the obsession with rigidly staying logical is irrational in itself. It stems from linking your identity, or your ego, which is the most deeply rooted and permanent emotion we have, with what you believe is objectivity. The thing is, you can deny logic, but you can't deny feelings. Emotions are some of the most objective and universal things we as humans experience. Now, while they may stem from different circumstances, the chemical processes within all of our brains remain the same. So when you sit there and you see someone like Ben Shapiro devalue someone's argument because it's too emotional, immediately they're wrong. The very basis of humanity is emotion, it's understanding, it's empathy. If we were not emotional beings, we would not have made it as far as we have. And trying to detach yourself from the emotion that is innately you is both an irrational and impossible thing to do. You're not right because you're the most logical. You're lying to yourself to preserve your ego, and you're probably more irrational than the person you disagree with.
Men are logical. We will scout things the way that it has to make sense. Men have a need to make sense. So if it doesn't make sense, we cannot relate. We can't talk to you if something doesn't make sense.
This is men logic. So I saw a video on here where this guy who's married to his wife was like right before Thanksgiving dinner, his wife had asked him to pick up a can of pumpkin, like, you know, the cans of pumpkin. And he's on his way over there. He calls her. It's like busy time of the year. She's probably doing 1,000,001 things because, you know, the woman does everything with the holidays. So he's in Walmart, he's calling her because he doesn't know what brand to get or what type of pumpkin to get. Like it's pumpkin in a can. It's nothing fancy, it's nothing special. So he's calling her, she declines his call. She doesn't pick up, he calls her twice. So he decides because she didn't pick up, he's going to leave the pumpkin altogether day before Thanksgiving and just go back home. Knowing that she needs the pumpkin, knowing that his wife is literally preparing everything, the whole meal. So he gets home and he's like, yeah, you didn't pick up your phone, so I didn't get the pumpkin. She's like, well, do you mind going back? Because I was busy, I couldn't pick up the phone. No, I'm not going back. Are you kidding me, sir? This is like male logic, right? Like they just like, and at the end of the day, it's really about his ego. He has a big ego, which a lot of guys, this is like my pet peeve, men with big egos. Oh my gosh, they are the most annoying creatures on the planet to deal with. When a guy has like a big ego, he will make your life a living hell by like weaponized incompetence. Like he's going to act dumb, like he doesn't know better, just to piss you off because his ego is bruised and because she didn't pick up the phone. He was like, in his mind, I'm gonna make her pay for not picking up my phone calls because my phone calls is probably way more important than making sure the kids don't get into trouble or she doesn't burn the Thanksgiving meal that she's preparing. Those, they can take a back seat, but she has to answer my phone call when I'm at the grocery store getting a can of pumpkin for her, knowing full and hell well he's going to be eating up all the food that he didn't even work for over a hot stove, slaving over a hot stove for hours while she does it. Oh, he lets his wife do that, okay? And what is the harm in getting the can of pumpkin? Do you know how much? No, let me just show you. The pumpkin in question, $2.62. Why would he make a big deal about not getting the right can? It's $2, dude. Are you that broke? That $2 is breaking the bank? No. He's got a big ego. Such a big ego. What a big ego. Terrible. Terrible men.
You know, guys, they might not even like their partner, but they'll still stay and cheat on them. And somehow, in their minds, that makes sense. Instead of solving the problem, they'll just go out and create a whole new other problem.
I'm gonna say women are more emotional than men, and like men are the logical ones. I'm just gonna say this. That's not always true, because I swear there's some men that really be on their period. Men can be dramatic, and women can be rational. It just depends on the fucking day.
Men are way more logical than women, so if anyone's delusional, it's going to lean more to the women.
True. That's why there's so many men out there beating the shit out of each other because they can't even talk about their feelings.
That's just called testosterone.
You don't think so? When you look at like abuse in relationships,
let's not get into the stats on who's abusing who in relationships. Or men that's like
fighting each other out there because they get really pissed.
Women go with women because they sort of hate men secretly, so that's what they do.
You think we hate men secretly?
You were kind of just throwing them under the bus. These very nice gentlemen.
No, you were saying that men are not as emotional as women, which I completely. So why the f do we have so many men out there beating the shit out of each other? That's facts. That is true.
Rational thinking is like it's been scientific.
But they're taking it out physically and in anger. So of course they are emotional. Anger is an emotion.
Men are just naturally more logical.
And that is the myth that men are more logical than women, that women are emotional and men are logical, and that this is the basis for the leadership in most areas of life of men. This is problematic at so many levels. Firstly, it's just not true, right? And I'll loop back to that. But also, it puts logic in some sort of made-up hierarchy. So there's bullshit based on bullshit. And the bullshit is that logic is a better way of making decisions in life, for people, for commerce, than emotion or gut instinct, when every study shows that gut instinct and emotional decisions are just as valid and just as helpful and just as right as ones made from logic in most circumstances. But we've put logic on this pedestal because of the myth that we as men created, that logic is a better way of dealing with things. And as I said, that's based on the lie that we are the logical ones, when all the evidence is to the contrary on this. We don't act logically. We are the ones that will break into a rage over the decision of a referee refereeing a game in a different country that we're not even involved in. We are the ones that will punch out walls and even people when we're upset by what they say or do. We are the ones that act emotionally all the time. It's just that our emotional range is so fucking stunted that we don't recognize that our anger is an emotion driving our behavior, right? And if we were genuinely the logical ones, one of the tenets of logic is that logic says we should change our mind when facts and circumstances change, that we should change our way of being. But in every area of life except human relations, we do this. We all do this. I say we as humans, right? Let's say you've got a new feature on your phone, right? There's an adaptation. You start to use it or not, depending on its efficacy. But when it comes to relationships, we as men are not recognizing that the circumstances and facts have changed. Women are now in a different place. They don't need us the way that they used to under the system that we created, right? So now they're able to do whatever the hell they like, and we are yet to adapt as men to that change of facts. We are not being logical in our approach to relationships with the women we want to have relationships with. We want to go backwards, which is not logical. We want to go back to a time that never existed, or when it existed, was highly oppressive and unpleasant for the vast majority of people, right? We should not be looking back to recreate some mythical bullshit time where relationships somehow worked because men were men and women were women and knew their place. That was always bullshit. Always bullshit. So if we are the logical ones, then logic says that in light of these new facts, we need to change our behavior. Right? Women are adapting to the new facts. They're adapting to their ability to earn their own money, have their own relationships, own their own shit, enjoy their own pleasures, enjoy their own friendships, and all of these things, right? So let's drop this, we're the logical ones, women are the emotional. It doesn't help anything. We are all humans, and we all have at our disposal logic, emotions, gut instinct, all of these tools, even including things like fear, that help us make decisions, that help us steer our way through life. So there's no value to us in making these differentiations. The value to us is in seeking out the best way of being in relationship with each other. Women are doing that work. It's weird that we're holding back because of the myths that I've hopefully just busted here for you. You are able to be whoever the fuck you want to be. You're able to make decisions in whichever way you wish to make decisions. This is true of literally every human. And so placing different ways of making decisions on some kind of hierarchy doesn't help any of us. What will help us is to recognize what the facts are and adapt to those facts and circumstances. And right now, men, we're failing at that aspect.
So yeah, that's what others had to say about it. But me, I personally don't think that men are more logical or more emotional. I think it depends on the person. And for the most part, I feel like men are just more emotional than women. They're just not emotional in the same ways that we are over the same things. Like, for instance, what I see men getting emotional about the most is when they can't get what they want. Like, if they want something, they can't have it, whether it be a woman or just anything. They get pissed off because they feel like they're supposed to have everything. They're entitled to everything. And they get emotional and they do stuff like this.
Henry Taylor, consumed by rage or madness, doused Lavinia in lighter fluid and callously flicked a lighter at her, setting her ablaze.
What you are watching is ring footage from New Orleans East, okay? The gentleman that is coming down the stairs and getting into his car to drive off in the middle of the night just set a home on fire with 3 children inside, all under the age of 10, the youngest being 3 years old. He contacted the girlfriend to tell her that he was going to burn the house down. Her, knowing he wasn't playing, called the police and left her job early. But about the time they got there, the fire was too much to handle and all 3 kids did not make it out.
What the fuck comes home to this? What the fuck is this?
Ladies, that's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to say I don't think that women are more emotional than men. I think it depends on the people, but for the most part, I don't think that men are logical at all. I really don't. I would like to say some of them are, very few, but I don't think many men are logical. I think to each other, they're logical, and to a lot of women that don't know better, like pick-me's and mammies, they're logical, but over here on this side of town with us ladies, we don't think they're logical. So I don't know. Get down in the comments, ladies, and tell me what you thought about this video. Do you think that men are more logical than women? Do you agree with that? Just let me know what you think, and I will talk to you ladies later. Bye.